I usually, it always relates to how I feel about life, and I was going out a lot at this stage of my life, obviously, as you can see. The surroundings in this picture, all my fantasies and fears, they usually build a surrealistic kingdom, kind of like. This is a picture of my inspiration, which is a mixture of pop culture such as X-Files series, Picasso, and this is a picture taken from the Facebook page called Museum of Internet. Next picture is based on a more intimate and personal moment. It captures my ex-boyfriend in a pathetic pose, chewing a gum out of his mouth. Background scenes including fragments from Dürer's Apocalypse, and unhealthy amount of Crocs shoes and cats all make a fitting setting for his current mood. This is a more hallucinatory version of a trip to the woods in South England. Picture downstairs, there's a collage of the photograph that was an inspiration for this picture. And these are my Eastern European friends who maintain the tradition of mushroom picking in the England still. This is an equestrian portrait of a transgender singer called Mickey Blanco. It's actually a celebration of diversity in kind of like a Bosch environment, filled with other small figures and stories and layers. The following two pictures are from the series of self-portraits. I'm probably more open about what I want to depict now. I don't use like a metaphorical delineation as much as in some older works. I'm also more into like cancelling out the storytelling, and I'm trying to get rid of illustrative tendencies and intentions. And I want the subjects to have a more dramatic charge instead of just being some characters in the story. This is my studio in London, where I worked in like an abandoned building. This is a drawing. This is an outcome of 2 intense weeks that I spent in the drawing lab studio at the University of Northampton. I was inspired by philosophy of my favorite character from the True Detective series, which is my favorite TV show, Rust Cole. And this is a detail from the drawing. It's about life being a loop, an eternal recurrence of the same, like a story with no beginning and no end, being trapped on a piece of paper. And it's a kind of a weird picture, but it's 2 details being put in one picture. Many of my drawings deal with the phenomenon of the internet communication, feelings of boredom, apathy, and alienation, and this is like an obvious metaphor of feeling like an alien in this world and having some other stories going on in your head all the time. This drawing is one of the many I created depicting after my breakup and difficult process of letting go. What I was trying to achieve is probably a mixture of illustrational marks such as eyes, ears, with highly suggestive irrational marks like deformed body parts. It's another picture of myself thinking about Lucian Freud, and this is a detail from one of his etchings, and yeah, so it's kind of a simple thing. Got some time, so I'm gonna talk about the next drawing, which is called Illuminati Confirmed. Sometimes I use various symbols that probably suggest some kind of mysticism or some occult mythology, but it's more about playing out just without having any deeper sense or added meanings like in this one. I was always into old masters such as Albrecht Dürer or Da Vinci. I'm fascinated by the whole idea of evolution of illusion and representation, and I always wanted to make my version of the Last Supper, which is like an image that each artist has to make, and mine is a reversed one where the food and vegetables are having dinner instead of having been eaten. The next 2 pictures are both blends, and they're both about having an intense pleasure from looking, and I want my pictures to make the viewer see the world around him or her just a little more intensely. So what I sometimes do can be described as impractical observation for its own sake, then transforming into drawing like these two images. And the last three pictures are of my practice that I did before I started working with ink. This is a linocard. Before I started doing ink drawings, I was working with linocard metrics and combining with spray paint and acrylics. And this is called Mr. Strawberry and depicts an urban legend, a guy that lived around my block. And he had this kind of alcoholic nose that looked like a strawberry, so I wanted him to put him in a more romantic surroundings. This is, I forgot the third paper, so this is another urban legend from Košice, from my hometown, Moise couple who live in the Pereš Hills, and these are two husbands and very influential figures as well. And outside, apart from working with ink drawings and liner cuts and nails and wool, I also have collaborated with Miss Mičková on this series of tapestries, and this is called Bloggers, and it's just bloggers striking a pose on a tapestry. Thank you.